Today we're reacting to the epic Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer that came out this week, and the not-so-epic new release date. We've also got leaked images and rumored specs for the Xbox Handheld. Plus, EA drops a surprise about game prices, Nintendo hints at raising their prices again, and Destiny 2 teases an action-packed year ahead. Stick around for all this and more. Welcome, friends, to this week's episode of Good Playing With You, your weekly gaming news roundup. I'm Dan Whitehill, and this week I'm joined by Matthew Moulding.
Hey now.
And unfortunately, Matt Lord is out sick.
I hear it's coming up both ends.
He's gonna watch this. Oh my god, Lord! I didn't tell him that. He's just saying that, so don't be mad at me. All right, let's move on. We've got a lot of great stories for this week, so let's jump straight into the headlines, and that means GTA, which I've been waiting to talk about forever.
Me too.
Okay, the trailer. Finally, after over a year of waiting, we got follow-up trailer number 2 to what is sure to be the largest entertainment launch of history. I can't put enough hyperbole on this, and I'm yelling on YouTube and podcasts, and it's my job to talk hyperbole, but I can't even speak it up enough. This is going to be so amazing, so fun. GTA 6, the latest look was amazing. Real quickly, I want to go through it with you, Moulding, get your take on it, and then I want to start speculation and rumors before we move on.
Love that.
First off, what was your take? I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it looks incredible. We knew it was going to be incredible. I don't think that was ever going to be a debate. We knew it was going to look awesome. I just don't. I wasn't personally prepared for how much better it is than everything else I've seen out there for almost any game. Like, if this is a mix, and they say, you may talk about this later, they say this was like 50-50 gameplay cutscenes. If that's the case, it's going to be like one of the best looking video games I think I've ever seen. Like, I can't imagine walking down the beach and having all those people be individually programmed to be walking around, and if you can interact with all of them. Like, I'm just really excited for what I saw. It looks insane.
I gotta agree with you on this one. It looks fantastic. I want to be super pumped for it, and they definitely delivered here. I am a little curious about this gameplay was in there that everyone's been talking about on the internet this week, because I think some of that could be bullshit, or it's that cinematic camera while you're driving kind of situation where it's like shots you're not really going to use and that sort of stuff. Maybe that's the gameplay.
When they said that is like when you're like, he's at the workout bench in like Muscle Beach, except it wasn't Muscle Beach. And I remember like there was that whole, the worst mission in GTA 5 when you're doing the yoga. And that was technically gameplay, but I could see how they could maneuver it to make it look like it was a cutscene, make it look like it was so good that it was a cutscene. And so maybe that's what you're doing there, is like you're doing a workout game. And so it's technically gameplay, but it just doesn't need any resources to look better than anything else. So maybe that's what they're doing with that, like that statement of 50-50.
Yeah. So I didn't want to get too hung up on that. I was more interested in the overall trailer itself. First off, it was sexier than anything we've ever seen before. The chemistry between the two characters was awesome, and they've never had such young characters as the heroes before. I mean, Franklin was young, and but the rest of them are usually, they're not like this. This is more of a Bonnie and Clyde story of bank robbery and love gone potentially wrong. There was definitely a lot of with Lucia coming from jail, she's got a past, and so setting up the characters were really, really fascinating. I think that, and they've got their tried and true sort of characters with like the nerd guy who comes in there, and they've got the music moguls and the music
man
friends
in the chair
like
for that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's fun to see the kind of stereotypes that they play with brought back in, or the characters they play with is a better way to say it, brought back in. There was the shot of the car pulling a safe on a wire, which is straight out of GTA 5, and it's a welcome addition. I'm glad those were the hallmarks of GTA And it was
I mean, there's
exciting to
no way
see.
there's not going to be heists in
Oh,
this,
for sure.
right?
It
Like there
has to be.
has to be. Yeah.
Yes, I know, which makes me really excited for more. And so that's kind of my next question is like, where do they go from here? I don't want to toot our own horn, but we did call that there was going to be a delay, and we did say that they were going to like make up for the delay by releasing a new trailer. And bam, what just happened last week and this week? Exactly that. So we're batting 1,000 so far, but
Yeah.
I
We're pretty
speculated.
much never wrong, really, listeners. We're never incorrect, so it's fine.
Well, I guessed that the new launch date would be February, but it's not. It's May 26th. We have to
Yeah.
wait a whole freaking
Yeah.
year.
I know.
I agree
It's
with
gonna
this.
be hard, but I'm much happier that it's going to be delayed than putting it out and having
Yes.
Brendan get stuck in a garage. Like,
Well,
so I'm good with
that
it.
was classic, yeah, moment. And who's to say if that doesn't happen again? Because we haven't heard a peep or seen
No.
anything from Grand Theft Auto Online, and that's like a whole other game. I definitely think if we look at GTA 5's playbook, we won't see any information on that one until we get much closer to launch.
And we might not even see it at launch. They could be, hey, we're putting out the game now, and GTA Online is coming out in 3 months, coming out in July.
Yeah,
You know, who knows what they're
exactly.
going to do.
I agree, and I think that we will start to hear rumors as we get closer. The word on the street, like, "Oh, this is, sounding finished. This isn't sound." I think we'll have an indication, but I do think my thought is they are going to hit this release date. I feel a little bit confident on it. They've given themselves a full year, and this time they actually gave us a numerical date of the month. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking, okay, this is really got to be it. This is really going to be good.
I agree. I think this one's solid, unless there's some unforeseen thing happens. I think this is the day it's going to come out. I'm not concerned.
I agree, which makes me think that we're not going to see a follow-up trailer until maybe February, March, where trailer 3 has to be the in-depth one. Don't you think? It has to be,
Oh,
this is what you're going to be doing. This is your heist. This is the blah, blah, blah. It's got to be that meaty 5-6 minute trailer where they explain the game to us.
I mean, maybe they'll even do a direct. I mean, if Borderlands 4 gets its own direct, like you would certainly hope Grand Theft Auto gets one.
Oh yeah, such a good call, man. A
Yeah.
direct would blow the doors off of it. But you know what? The awesome
It
thing
would probably
about
break YouTube records.
I
Like
know, right?
this
For sure.
alone, I'm sure broke some record of some sort because the likes were having trouble keeping up with the views were having trouble keeping up with the likes because it had way more likes at one point than views. So YouTube was having trouble like getting its stuff together.
Yeah, it definitely set a record, I think, for the highest amount of views in the first 24 hours, and they released that
Oh,
number.
nice. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
but they've always been good about being platform agnostic, so I don't see them partnering necessarily with Sony
Yeah.
or directly with Microsoft when it comes to this. But so they would have to do the state of play situation on their own, which I could definitely see that
Yeah,
happening. That could
absolutely.
that would
Why
do.
wouldn't they? I think they're missing a huge opportunity to not like to have a captive audience just all about their game rather than put it in like the game awards or something like that where it gets overshadowed by everything else. No, I think they've got to do their own thing for this.
I agree. And then in terms of storyline, any expectations before we quickly wrap this up?
I mean, I hope that the main character is bisexual. That would be fun. That would be a nice little change of pace. Man, they made, I mean, I'm stuttering. They made one of the best looking dudes to do this, and they gave him a hairy chest. I was so impressed that they didn't give him like some smooth twink chest. They like he was nice to look at.
I agree.
And Lucia is like great to look at too. She's gorgeous, but all the character models
Super
for the two main characters are gorgeous.
agreed. And I know that Lucia has some rapper friends that were good looking, and
Yeah,
there were a couple more in there. I was like, this is a good looking cast. I really liked where they were going with this. So I'm really excited to see it. Okay, here's my wild speculation, and I'm
yeah.
curious to hear what you
Lay it
think.
on me.
My guess is the story is going to be a Bonnie and Clyde trope, but we're going to love
Yep.
these characters. They're going to be amazing. It's going to be a huge campaign. You know, she's going to get out of jail, but her history and her past is going to pull her back into a life of crimes. It definitely has to do with their landlord and stuff like that. And then my thing is it, spirals out of control where they create more and more crime and do more crime, get bigger and bigger. Then they're going to pull off one last score, of course, that movie trope.
Yep. Of
Then
course.
I think either something goes wrong. The choices are either something goes wrong and they both die, or they make a mysterious getaway and we're not sure if they're still alive or not.
Mm.
And then we never hear from these
Maybe one of
characters
them
again.
is like mortally wounded and you don't
Oh,
know
okay. See, I don't think
who
of
it
that.
is.
Oh, that's a good one. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
But my thing is, the main campaign will wrap up their storyline. We will get my prediction. We will get DLC for this, but it will focus on side characters and it won't be Jason and Lucio. We will see their story wrapped up in the main campaign. We won't see them again. And of course, we will not see them into the online. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I'd love to see some gay Tony flirting with main guy Jason, right? That's his name, Jason.
Yeah.
It'd be funny to see some gay Tony Jason
Gay Tony
flirtation.
was a mess, man, with all the drugs and the chaos and his
Yeah,
nightclubs. Like, ugh, that character. I
that
don't know
was
if we want
GTA
him back.
4, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I mean, story to be yes, the story is a great part of all the GTAs, obviously. I'm not sure that that's why I play them.
Sure.
I play them for this like sandbox world where I can live out my fantasy of being a criminal. I think
For
that,
sure.
and then the story for me is secondary. It's noticeable when it's bad, but I want those missions to be fun. I want them to show off the city. I want to be able to do them in multiple different ways, like not have to do it a cookie cutter way each time. I mean, they're going to have to do a little bit of that, which is totally fine. But I want to see that. And I want to see, and they may have talked about this earlier. I'd love to see any building that you can walk into, man. That's that's the dream, is these open worlds where every building you can enter. Oh, I'd love to see that.
That's what AI is going to be for, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see about that. Well, I can't wait to talk more about that as we get more news in the future. So we got to move on
Absolutely.
to the Xbox handheld, because this one is a little bit different than I was expecting, especially with these leaked images that came out. But before we do that, I know that you wanted to tell our listeners about a really cool project.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this episode of Good Playing with You is actually brought to you by our friends at Instant Riot. They are a brand new clothing label made for gamers, pop culture addicts, and everyone in between. Head to instantriot.com and to celebrate their launch week, enter promo code FIRSTRIOT for 10% off your first order. Instant Riot, if you know, you know. And I just want to mention that Instant Riot is actually our exclusive partner for Good Playing with You merch. So if you want to support the pod, definitely check them out, and you can pick up a shirt similar to what we're sporting right here. And on YouTube, you can see it. Unfortunately, if you're not on YouTube, you can't see it, but just imagine a devilishly handsome Brad Pitt type
That's
wearing
me. And what do you look like then?
a blue and white shirt. Yeah, God damn, I walked right into that
You totally
like head
did.
first. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, the
Yeah,
pod listeners can go to Instant Riot to check it out. But now let's move
absolutely.
on
Yeah.
and talk about this Xbox handheld, because to be honest with you, I feel like a little bit of bait and switch. This is not what I expected. First, let me tell you a little bit more about it, and then let's debate. This is an article from Kotaku written by Ethan Gotch, and it's Xbox branded PC gaming handheld leaks and looks exactly like the Asus ROG Ally 2. A rumored Xbox PC game handheld has leaked thanks to the Federal Communication Commission's, the FCC. No, not the device being developed in-house with Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer, who previously mentioned it and that it's years away. So this is what I was getting confused with. I thought it was the one Phil Spencer was talking about that was the actual like Xbox console, but this is not. This is an Xbox branded PC handheld by Asus. So I just want to make that clarification. Essentially, photos of the devices, both the ROG Ally 2 and this Xbox branded one, were taken by the FCC, and you can see them on our podcast on the YouTube channel, and you can see lots of smudges and fingers, because apparently the FCC doesn't clean the surfaces when they take pictures. But basically, it showed a white Asus gaming handheld that is presumably the Ally ROG 2, and the other showed the black version with a dedicated Xbox button that's presumably the Xbox branded alternative. Rumors of the devices were previously reported by Windows Central, yada, yada, yada. The article goes on to detail a couple of factors that could impact the sales of this new handheld and when it might launch. So they're thinking that Asus is probably going to talk about this sometime later this month, and Xbox might actually hold off and debut this handheld at their June, like, summer games E3 thing that it used to be. So somewhere it's coming soon, essentially, and it's somewhere in this summertime window is what they're thinking. Also, there could be a couple of things that impact the sales of this thing, like tariffs, if there are any new tariffs, and will it have a custom Xbox OS or will it be full Windows? And I know Lord would be chomping at the bit to sit here and tell you about how the Steam OS is the best thing ever on the handheld. So it would be curious to see if Xbox actually went to compete with them, or if they were just a little bit lazy and shipped it with a full powered Windows that would definitely hamper the power of that handheld system. So it'll be curious to see what's actually loaded on this thing when it finally comes out this summer. But Molden, what are your thoughts on this? This seems like to me more of a half step. It's not really a real Xbox handheld, but I guess it'll play the games. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are I really miss Lord because this is his he would
is
have
his.
I wish I had
Yeah,
perfected a Lord impression to be like, so boys, that's the only thing I got. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
really
good.
bad. Yeah, because I just, handhelds are not my thing and I care very little for them. But it does feel like there was this buzz about having a proprietary Xbox handheld, and this just feels like a licensed gimmick. Maybe is that what it is? Not some like an afterthought, and maybe that's good for Xbox having it be an afterthought because I think it's gonna bomb. I don't think it's gonna do well. So maybe it's better that they're not all in on it, or at least that's what it sounds like it could be. I don't know. It just does not sound very exciting to me. But if you are a big fan of handhelds and you're a big fan of Xbox, what a great thing for you to be able to possibly take your Xbox games, play them everywhere. That's a great thing. I don't know cost, right? That was in a leak at all, like what something like this would cost. I don't know. I just feel like the decisions Xboxes and Microsoft are making lately are suspect at best. Like, what are they doing?
I agree. I mean, looking at this, it doesn't even have the form factor of an Xbox. It looks like
Yeah.
the Asus machine. I think and honestly, who really wants to buy an Xbox? I hate to say this. I love Xbox and stuff, but there are no exclusives. So there's no reason to go with them other than Game Pass. And I don't think Game Pass alone is strong enough. And then think about the handheld market right now with the Steam Deck
Oof.
and the ROG Ally
Terrible
2
timing.
coming out. Yeah, and the Nintendo Switch coming out a month later. Like, seriously, you're wasting your time. And it's not going to sell well for them, and it's going to make them have cold feet on their next handheld. I don't know if Xbox hardware is really long for this world, and this is going to be the first, really one to tank.
Imagine those YouTube videos of a little kid at Christmas thinking he's getting a Switch 2 and all excited, and he opens it up and he's like, what the fuck is this? And he like throws it. Like, that's what I'm imagining is going to be the type of thing that happens with this.
I agree. I think that, yeah, they definitely are going to have to do a lot of promotion to make us understand why this exists. Because right now,
Yeah.
I would just go with the Steam Deck, and I know that would
Yeah.
make Lord really thrilled. And I've already got the Nintendo Switch 2 coming, so I'm like, this is a huge miss for me. It's nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's a big miss for me as well. If it
All
even
right,
happens. Like, this is all rumor still, right?
agreed.
Nothing's been announced. So, it's all rumor, but people are usually right about this stuff.
Well, speaking of fun announcements, let's talk about Destiny. We're both enjoying that game immensely, and I know you had a great update for us to chew over
Yeah.
today.
So we have major Destiny 2 reveals, and this is from Matt Miller at Game Informer. I'm so thankful to have Game Informer back in my world. On Tuesday, Bungie pushed forward an array of new details regarding Destiny 2 and what players can expect to discover in the game over the next year. Much of the stream that they had focused on the Edge of Fate, an expansion set to arrive pretty soon on July 15th. The Edge of Fate takes players to a new destination called Kepler. Here, players navigate a Metroidvania inspired destination of mysteries and secrets, fueled by new powers granted through dark matter. Kepler will feature multiple world tiers of challenge that unlock over time as you play. Mysteries and puzzles might be solved one way in an early tier, only to change as you acquire new abilities and power in later tiers. Kepler will also bring an array of new powers. The premier ability is called MatterSpark, which allows players to use a special pad to transform into a ball of bouncing arc energy and zip around the environment. What does that sound like? Players also gain new abilities on Kepler, like a relocator cannon that allows for teleportation through space, and Matter Morph, which allows players to use strand energy to reshape the environment, creating bridges, revealing secrets, and opening doors. There was also talk of 2025's second expansion, which we'll learn about more through a dedicated reveal in September. Renegades is what it's called, is described as a full-on in-lore Destiny expansion that moves the core story forward, but it's also described as a direct homage to the universe of Star Wars and appears, among other things, to include crossover elements between the two sci-fi fantasy properties, including Guardians wielding lightsabers. If you aren't playing Destiny 2 right now, like Dan and I are, is this enough to get you excited to jump back in? Dan, are you going to pick this up day one or wait for it to go on sale in a few months?
That's a really good question. It looked fantastic. I am super pumped, but I'm also a little bit worried here because I know that Bungie just laid off some people,
Yep.
and shrunk this team. So their goal here is essentially to each one of these campaign editions for this year are also going to have like a second part to it where they release a little bit more content. So their goal here is a great one. It's to kind of like release more content slowly, drip feed for the players. But unfortunately, I think the Destiny players are kind of starving. I mean, it's been a year since that last update, and granted,
I'm
that
not
last update was
starving.
fantastic. I know,
we
I know,
we
right?
just jumped into it. We're eating well.
Oh my god, we're eating so well, and it's so much fun. And yes, I know it's so good because we got some of these updates for like $3, and I'm like, man, you kind of trained me to do that. So,
Yeah.
um, yes, I will get it if I have nothing else to do. Otherwise, I will ignore it, let the price drop, and then I will get it, later on because that's what we did with a lot of these campaigns. And the thing is, I feel bad for the people that play Destiny just and that's it and that's all they play, and then they're complaining all the time because they don't have enough content to play all the time. And I have to say, look, just do what Molding and I do, like dip in every couple years or something, be a filthy cash,
Yeah.
and it's a great time because we've got so much content to unlock and we can grind through the whole battle pass and stuff. But then as soon as it gets a little bit boring, I'm more than happy to peace out. And I think that's how I'm going to treat these campaigns.
Yeah, for me, Destiny 2 has definitely been the game I'll pick up when I don't have anything else to play. Like it's an old
Mhm.
standby. Like I know I
Mhm.
can jump into it. I know there's been something updated that I can try out and have fun playing. However, what they talked about in this sounds real. The Metroid Ball doesn't sound really fun to me, but what they talked about with this using the strand energy to reshape the environment, I'm very curious about that. Is it going to be like a I don't know, where you're in your own world and you reshape it like Minecraft? I don't know how I feel
No
about
way.
that.
Don't get that excited. It's going to be deep
Yeah,
sight.
you think
You know
it's
how
gonna
deep
be yeah.
deep sight on Savathun where something's glittering and then if you're powerful enough you can
Yeah.
reveal the rock that you can jump on. It's going to be that lame.
Yeah, no, you're right. I shouldn't get my hopes up.
I know.
It
Sorry to
it
burst your
sounded
bubble.
really good.
Kind
No,
of.
you did. It's fine. I'll hate you forever. But it sounds like it could be really fun. However, what I am absolutely against is what they're talking about with this Star Wars stuff. I I I
Yeah.
don't want to see it's the the Fortnite-ification of games, which I really do not like. I don't like all these licenses. I don't want to play Destiny as Luke Skywalker. I don't want to see in multiplayer a bunch of Darth Vaders running around. That just ruins the game for me. So if that's going to be the case, I don't know. I don't know how much I'd play after that, because I like my peanut butter and my chocolate separate. I don't want to
Right.
eat them together when it comes to Destiny.
And coming from a guy, I totally agree. Coming from a guy that I like myself, I doesn't really care for Star Wars. I know, feel free to hate me, but it's in everything, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
oh
it
god. So
is.
that definitely does not interest me at all.
No, it kind of bums me out, actually. I love Star Wars. I think it's great. I think people who don't love Star Wars have poor taste, like Dan. But other than that, I just don't want to see it in my game.
I agree. You know what? I was ready for after they finished this campaign. I was ready for Destiny 3.
Yeah, that would have
I
been a
feel like
nice thing. Like,
right. They
I
should have
do feel like
taken
they've gone to the well a little too much now for Destiny 2, and let's have a fresh start.
exactly. Take everything you've learned, because that game has changed immensely, and then put it in this.
Absolutely.
And I do think it's kind of comical a little bit that there's, doing Metroid inspired things and kind of copying Metroid a bit while we were just making fun of Borderlands for copying Destiny a little bit. So,
Absolutely. I got a
which is
lot of
fine.
shit about that. And
Yep.
I was just really mentioning the comparison. I was just comparing the two games. I wasn't really saying one was bad because of the other, because games steal from each other
For
all over
sure.
the place, and that's just happens all the time. But yeah. Yeah. There was mention in that article that I didn't say that they're doing some loot changes. There's going to be like tiers of loot. There was some more stuff that they're making changes on that I just didn't put in the article. So it wasn't just that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to add more to the grind and more microtransactions because that's
Yeah.
typical, but that's why we pick up the game for $3.
I mean, the last expansion was called The Final Shape. How do you continue on in doing more expansions after The Final Shape
Well,
happened?
that was their light and dark saga, and now they're
Yeah.
about to start a new
To
saga.
do a
So
new one.
that's
That's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And we'll just dip in whatever. When we'll dip in when the price is right. And speaking of prices, I know you had a story about EA.
Yeah, me again. Get to hear my voice even more. Our friend Zach Zwiesen at Kotaku wrote about this on Wednesday, a rare corporation win. EA not planning to raise prices on games like Nintendo and Xbox. During a recent Electronic Arts earning call, CEO Andrew Wilson was asked if the Madden and Apex Legends publisher was planning to raise game prices following the recent announcements from the likes of Xbox and Nintendo. And for now, at least, that doesn't seem to be the plan. When Nintendo fully unveiled the Switch 2 via a lengthy direct in April, many were shocked to see the company charging $80 for a copy of Mario Kart World. Then, in May, Xbox announced it was also raising game prices on first-party titles. So now investors are asking other game companies if they too plan on increasing prices on new games. And surprisingly, EA is not going to do that, at least as far as we know as of right now. As reported by VGC, during the call, one person asked Wilson about the quote unquote pricing power of EA's franchises and whether the company was going to start taking a similar approach to other game publishers who were raising prices. Wilson replied that the video game industry is, quote, very different today than it was a decade ago. Back then, it was all about selling discs in plastic boxes in stores. Now, that's a very small part of EA's overall business, and they have a wide variety of pricing options from free to play all the way to deluxe editions and beyond. At the end of the day, said Wilson, whether we're doing something that costs $1 or we're doing something that costs $10 or we're doing something that costs $100, our objective is always delivering incredible quality and exponential value to our player base. EA CFO Stuart Canfield added, from a game's perspective we put out, we have reflected no changes in our current strategy at this point. So, Dan, do you believe what EA is saying here, or are they just biding time to see how the market reacts to the new pricing before we see the next $80 EA Sports game?
The second one. Look,
Yeah,
they're not fools.
absolutely.
Yeah, they are not fools. They are blowing smoke up our asses, and it's smart for them too because they need to see. And this is what I was complaining about Microsoft last week going ahead and raising prices is because they didn't even wait to see the writing on the wall with what's going to happen on Nintendo, and EA is playing it smart. Now, keep in mind that their games are riddled with microtransactions, so they're going to
Ugh,
get their extra money eventually.
yeah.
It's just a question of when, but at least they're doing their due diligence to see what sales happen and how it works in the industry and that sort of stuff. So I believe that it's not good-hearted or kind-hearted by any means. It's pure business logic.
Absolutely. Like I have nothing to add to that. That's why I asked you that question because that
Yeah.
was what I put in and what I totally think. They're not gonna show their cards this early. Those EA Sports games are, like you said, just riddled with microtransactions. I think you end up spending way more than
Oh,
the
for sure,
price of the game
for
over
sure.
the life of playing those things because you have to buy contact packs and you try to. I think there's a gambling element to them too. Your nephew would know a lot more about those games than I do. But no,
Mhm.
I think they probably saw the pushback. I mean, Nintendo obviously got so much pushback for their $80 because they were the first ones to do it. If you were to see their faces on these calls, I bet they're like giggly Mr. Burns hands, like so happy that they raise those prices.
Oh, for sure.
That Nintendo and Xbox are taking the brunt of the conversation, and they're just gonna kick back and wait to see how it comes, and then all of a sudden, like Madden 2026, that's gonna be an $80
For
game.
sure, for sure.
Absolutely.
It's only a matter of time. One good thing I like, I've been harping about the $80 games, and I think everyone knows my opinion based on the last podcast. But I did want to say, like, look, there's one positive thing that could potentially happen here, and is as these game prices really balloon, they are making a more of a spectrum that games can also fall into in the middle. And one thing that I wanted to point out is Mafia 4, The Old Country, released a trailer yesterday on Thursday. And if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It looks fantastic. And it's going to be $50 at the jump. So I was like, huh, now this could be a good sort of situation with the $80 games. Maybe some games are read the writing on the wall and are smart and are be like, okay, we're going to go lower. And that clearly could have been a game that could have been $70, but I think they're being a little bit smarter here.
I completely agree. I think you're already seeing that with Claire Obscure Expedition 33 being $50. Uh, that they really could have put that game at a premium price, and they would be. And I mean, maybe they wouldn't be as their sales wouldn't be as good, but they'd be making more money with it. Absolutely, but they didn't, and I think it really paid off. And they probably got more people buying the game because it's
For
fifty
sure.
dollars versus 70,
I
and it's
agree.
worthy of it. We talked about it a lot over the last couple episodes. It's completely worthy. I would have paid $70 for it. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that could be one thing. One benefit is some publishers being smart and lowering prices, but one publisher who's interested in potentially raising prices even higher than the $80 is Nintendo. So the hubris here, like, don't even get me started. I'm sorry, Chad, my friend. I love Nintendo and all, but the moves that they are making is like, we talk about arrogant Sony, and this is I've never seen Nintendo be more shitheads than they are right now and more cocky than they are right now. I love their products. I love Mario. And look, call me an idiot because I'm actually pre-ordering the Switch 2, but I'm still not happy about it. And this is the reason why. So they just had this investor call, and they said some pretty shocking things. So this is an article written by Mark Warren at VG247. It says Nintendo isn't ruling out a Switch 2 price increase depending on those pesky tariffs, as it predicts new hardware will outdo the uber popular OG Switch at launch sales. So it's a long article, but let me just, like, I kind of summarized it here. Essentially, long story short, Nintendo president Shuntaro Fukawa hasn't ruled out the possibility of increasing the cost of console games even further if there are tariffs. He is quoted as saying, "At this time, the top priority is to quickly popularize the Switch 2 hardware. If the assumptions regarding tariffs change significantly, we would like to consider that the price adjustments we should make and implement them after considering various factors." So that's a long, wordy way of saying that 450, 500, that's not even enough for them, which, keep in mind, people, this is a 50% increase over the launch price of Switch 1 that was $300. So it's like, that's not enough for you? Then maybe you should look on the way you're putting your console together. Some people back in the day used to take a loss on console sales so that they could sell more software, but not Nintendo.
Xbox is really great at taking a loss on their consoles.
Good one. But also, they're saying that they expect to sell 15 million Switch 2s in the first year and 45 million pieces of software, which is ridiculously huge, and good on them if they can do it. Potentially they can. But for reference, Switch 1 sold 14.87 million in its first year. And I couldn't find a number for software sales. So with these comments, what do you think? Do you think that they can hit these software goals? And do you think they would actually raise prices? That's crazy.
Yes, I think they would raise prices. No, I do not think they're going to hit those software goals. I think that the vast majority of people that aren't Nintendo super fans, like possibly me, look at this thing and say, I don't see the gimmick of the mouse act. I don't really see that being as a console purchasing gimmick. The camera, that kind of stuff, it's fun, it's a novelty. I don't see me picking that up, a new Switch, just for that. There's a lot of stuff there that I think the normal everyday gamer who's not the Nintendo super fan is just gonna pass by and say, you know what, maybe just catch me on the Switch 3. Like, I can wait one more generation, or I can wait 2 years and pick it up when hopefully it would be a little bit cheaper. I don't know. It's Nintendo. They don't really get cheaper. This is how I see Nintendo. Nintendo is a drug dealer in a small town that has a market that can only get this stuff from them. So they have a lot of control over what they're going to be charging, because they know these Mario and Zelda addicts are going to buy it. Now, exactly right here, I'm going to completely change my tune when they come out with a third Zelda and I can only play it on the Switch 2. It's going to be like whatever the next Tears of the Kingdom is going to be. That's going to be a console seller for me. So I'll eat my words then. But until that happens, I'm just keeping that money in my bank account.
I agree. Look, what pisses me off here is that they're insulting their fans here by saying we're leaving the door open to raising prices. Your fans are clearly asking you to drop the price, and that's every comment on every video and live stream. And they are clearly saying the exact opposite. All he had to do is, we will react to the future when it happens. He didn't say we're considering, potentially raising the price when this happens. And I just feel like it's a huge insult, as well as, you know what? I think their numbers are a little inflated here. Like, they are so big in their britches right now. It is unbelievable. I love Nintendo more than anybody else, but it is unbelievable how cocky they are in everything that's going on. If you think about it, and this is where people are going to hate me, but they're launching their new system. They're launching their new system, the Switch 2, with one game.
Yeah.
Boom, period. They're launching a brand new console with one new game. And you can come at me and say,
a little bit later, but technically.
Yeah, that's a little bit later. But that's like a month later. And you can come at me and say Bravely Default and all these others and the Zelda and stuff, like, they're all remixes and remakes and all that sort of stuff that existed in other platforms. The only thing genuinely new is Mario Kart. It's completely overpriced. And then they do have Donkey Kong coming later. But out of the gate for early adopters, I'm like, well, I got one game and that's all I can get for it. I'm not going to buy any of this other crap that they're going to try and sell me, because it's bullshit. And I think that if you look at history, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Look, the SNES didn't sell as much as the NES. The Wii U didn't sell as much as the Wii. The 3DS didn't sell as much as the DS. This console has no unique feature. I don't think that those mice peripherals and Joy-Cons are strong enough. I don't. I think this does take off out of the gate. They might very well might reach their 15 million sales, but
Mm.
I'm telling you, if they don't mitigate that price, they are going to tank in terms of sales in year 2 and year 3. So we're not going to see it out of the first year. Is going to be great, I guarantee you. And they're going to be like, Dan, you were wrong. And then 2 and 3, that's where it's going to start to lag, and I think we're going to see some price changes.
Yeah, and if the economy goes the way some people are thinking it might, and we have empty store shelves for like toilet paper and the everyday necessities, people aren't going to be thinking, "Hey, now's a great time for me to spend this money on a Switch too." I think that could hurt them as well.
I agree. And it'll be also interesting to see what they do with their software, if they make it only Switch 2 or if they straddle the fence the way this generation
Mm,
has with PlayStation 4 and 5. I mean, to be honest with you, this generation, Sony hasn't really made any new games. They've just remastered. They're doing a victory lap right now, and they're only just remastering their games.
yeah.
So, I mean, like maybe they try and do that, in which case they're going to be really in trouble when it comes to software and stuff like that. So, I am not as bullish as Nintendo's president, that's for sure.
No, same.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. All right, one more story before we move on, though. Gears of War Reloaded coming out on PlayStation 5 and other consoles. Malden,
Yep,
what's going
Lord,
on here?
Lord, come back because my voice is going out. We need you. Rachel Weber at IGN wrote up this week about Gears of War Reloaded coming coming in summer, even on PlayStation. So on Monday, Microsoft announced Gears of War Reloaded, a remaster of the original 2006 game that will launch on August 26th on Xbox, PC, and wait for it, PlayStation. The shiny new version will come with improved visuals and audio, crossplay and cross progression, and all the DLC from the Gears of War Ultimate Edition. Mike Crump, studio head at the Coalition, said in the announcement post, "As we approach the 20th anniversary of Gears of War in 2026, we're reflecting on what this franchise means. It's about the stories we've told, the friendships we've built, and the unforgettable moments we've shared together. With Gears of War Reloaded, we're opening that door to more players than ever." He continues, "Gears of War Reloaded is built for shared play, whether you're teaming up in a split screen or jumping online. The campaign supports 2-player co-op and versus multiplayer, allows up to 8 players. With cross-play across all platforms, you and your friends can squad up no matter where you play, no Microsoft account required." Microsoft also delivered a full list of the improvements that all players, whatever the console, can expect to see. Just a few of them are 4K resolution, 60 FPS in campaign, 120 FPS in multiplayer. That made my eyes go wide. High dynamic range, HDR, super resolution with improved anti-aliasing, whatever that means, and 0 loading screens during campaign, which I thought was my favorite part of that whole list.
For
So,
sure.
Dan, what do you think about this announcement? Are you happy to see more of these Xbox games coming to PlayStation? Will you be playing this one again? And if so, on what system?
Well, great questions. Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
I'm
I wrote
playing
them
this.
myself.
I can't wait to play it. Yes, and I'm not paying for a cent because I already got it on Game Pass. I'll give it a whirl. Look, it'll be good for
Yeah.
nostalgia. I don't really care. I think what this is like a $50 game as well. I think the remaster.
It didn't
Um,
say in there. I don't know. So
I
I
think it
can't
is.
know.
To the PlayStation players, if you haven't played this one before, jump in. Welcome. You are gonna love this. The multiplayer is super fun. You got to learn to roll and shotgun people in the face when you pop up. It's a joy. The campaign itself, in my memory, it still holds up. So I really can't wait to see the graphics and that sort of stuff. So yeah, can't wait to check it again. It is weird. I think that they are continuing their multi-platform strategy and weakening their console, but hey, more players to enjoy it, more Microsoft fans to create for when you no longer have a console.
Yeah, that's been my saying all along. I love being able to play more games at more places. I fully support that. However, I am not the owner of Microsoft. I'm not the CEO. That it really does cheapen your brand when you
Yeah.
do that. Like, why buy an Xbox, especially if games are going to be more expensive, when I can play this game on PlayStation, and the install base on PlayStation is so much more. Like, it's just really putting the nail in the coffin. I'm glad
Yeah.
they're doing it, but it's
Yeah.
putting the nail in the coffin for him.
I agree. This definitely solidifies that my next console and the next generation, which we'll be talking about in only a year or two from now, will definitely be a PlayStation 6. And I have no interest in whatever Xbox is going to be offering. And it's this kind of
Oof.
stuff. I got to be honest
Yeah,
with
and they've
you.
had us for multiple generations.
Yep.
So,
It was fun while it lasted.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to some other fun. Let's move on to listener emails and topics of the week. All right, the first topic is mine. And basically, I wanted to know what you thought of when you thought of great trailer hype. GTA 6 is an amazing, like, trailer 2 has been amazing, and it's gotten everyone fired up. And I wanted to know, like, what are some of the trailers you remember that were just like mind blowing, that were really impactful, looked so great?
Well, I'm excited to talk about the one that you put in for it because that was my choice. So we'll talk about that. But the Hitman Absolution None trailer is immediately what I thought of. And I'm pretty sure this game, when it came out, I hadn't played any of the Hitmans before. And this was my first interaction with it. And you see Agent 47, he's in this this parking lot of a rundown motel, and there's this pack of nuns that comes at him, and I'm like, oh, what's this pack of nuns doing here? And all of a sudden they like whip off their habits and their whole outfits, and they have all these machine guns, and he gets in this big fight with it, and I was like, oh my god, I want this game. I want to experience this game. These shotgun nuns, man, that's awesome. So that trailer really got me, and I was not let down. The game is great, and I was super happy to play, and it made me a lifelong Hitman fan. So that was a fantastic trailer.
Nice. That is definitely a fun pick. And for anyone who's watching this on YouTube, feel free to check out the whole trailer. We've only cut up the certain pieces of it, but we're telling you these were impactful and fun trailers. And let's go ahead and talk about Dead Island. The original trailer was
Oof.
fantastic. What a huge moment that was culturally, especially if you're younger, you might not even know about it. But this trailer, took this game from relative obscurity. No one had really heard of it. And in one fell swoop, they made a trailer that everyone was talking about. The way it was artistically done, just with the camera movements, the slow motion, the fact that everything was backwards and you saw the way that the story was told, it said, this game is special. It was doing something that we had never seen before, and it promised us an experience that, we'd never tried. And so I was beyond hyped, and I was a day one player. And let's just say the true game, while I like it, wasn't even close to measuring up the brilliance that was. Talk about a bait and switch here. Like, the,
Yeah.
the game was fine. It was just a multiplayer, like, fetch quest sort of, zombie killer, which, I'm guilty of
You love your
adoring.
zombies.
I do love my zombies on occasion. But this one just, that trailer was so brilliant. I just thought the game was going to be brilliant, and it was just fun.
It was the moment, I think one of the moments in my life where I'm like, wow, like video games are art and they're
Yes.
really doing something crazy here. And
Yes.
I
Agreed.
think I think that trailer actually got me a little misty because it's kind of it hits you in the gut.
Yeah.
And it really, yes, please take a look if you haven't looked at this trailer. It's phenomenal.
What's your next one?
So my next one is partly because it's one of my favorite games ever made, but partly because the trailer was really incredible, and that is Skyrim. So the music is so incredible. This like deep booming whoa that you have. I mean, I think the guy that made it is pretty famous. We're coming off of Oblivion. Lots of people are getting to play Oblivion for the first time now, thanks to the remaster. But I was coming off of it being like, how are they going to top this game? This game was incredible. And then they show that trailer, and I was like, my good Lord, this game is going to be the best thing I ever played. And I was right. And he's running around. You see him using his magic. I say him because it's following the one character. And then he is fighting a dragon. And if you fight a dragon, you immediately get me. And then he uses his shout, and you're like, what is he doing? I've never seen anything like this before. And you get super excited, and the music crescendos. It's an incredible trailer. Shows off all the cities. Oh, I love it so much.
That is a great one. That's really
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Oh, good times. Another trailer that I think was really impactful and huge that we have to mention here, of course, is Gears of War Mad World. Now, we're not going to have the song on the YouTube version or on the podcast because we'll get a copyright strike, but
Yeah.
I think up until this point, so many action games have looked great and had great action and were aggressive and it was fun and it was shooting. And then all of a sudden, this comes this big AAA budget game and it does that, but it does it in this really slow, really somber, like a little more emo, contemplative tone. It takes a look at war in a little bit more of like, it's not glorifying it anymore. It's actually saying, man, this is sad that we have to exist like this. And while we have to do what we're doing to survive, it doesn't always it's not a pretty situation. And they kind of put a different lens on and I really think video games matured that day a little bit. It took away some of that arcadey tone, and yes, the end game is definitely that shooter, but it gave us a different glimpse of video games and artwork and storytelling that we had never had in a modern shooter before. And I know that everyone in the world loved that song right after that trailer. That was,
Yeah, it's a great
it
song.
would blow off the Spotify charts if it came out today, is what I'm saying. And I just thought it was really impactful. Did you find the same way, or?
That the game never did anything for me, but where you get me is a pop culture, a song or any sort of like song that I can hear on the radio and put it together with a game trailer and in some sort of impactful way, and you've got me. Like
Yeah, that
that
was
sort
awesome.
of
That was just
combination.
awesome.
There's another Gears of War trailer that they did at one of the E3s, and it uses, what's her name song? I can't, the Billie Eilish. It uses a Billie Eilish song, and I think that trailer doesn't even use any gameplay. It's just the woman's face and lots of other characters that I don't know who they are. But that combination of that Billie Eilish song and the trailer, I loved that one too.
That was good. All right, what's your next one?
So yeah, my third one then is BioShock. So the first BioShock, of course, we knew nothing about any of it was one of the first types of these games that I'd ever played. That first person feeling. You're following a guy that crashes into the water, and the music is Bobby Darin's what's it called, the Beyond the Sea, which is a pretty famous old song. Again, there it is, coupling that old song with a trailer for me. And you see the city below just kind of expand out, and then it's just rapid cuts, and you see the Big Daddy and the little sister. Was that what they're called? Little sister.
Yep.
Yeah, you see them, and you're like, what the F are these guys? Who are these? Am I gonna fight them? Are they gonna be my friends? Like all of that stuff. It's a very short trailer, but all of that made it very memorable for me and made me just super excited to play that game when it came out. And I loved it. It was a great game.
Oh, fantastic game. I loved it. And you're right. There's something about like an old obscure song and then a new way of looking at it. GTA just did it with that Pointer Sisters song Too Hot and I think that one came out in 86, but even GTA does this, you know what I mean? So fantastic. But my last pick is not one that has a pop song on it. It's from The Witcher 2, actually. Everyone loves The Witcher, and I almost picked The Witcher 3 because it had a really great trailer too that I know everyone remembers. But the opening sequence was actually used as a trailer for The Witcher 2. And I actually, to be honest with you, have not played The Witcher 2 yet. I will when they do the remake. But
it's not as good as the third one. It's harder.
Right. Yeah. I would figure. But have you seen the trailer I'm talking about at all? Oh, it is fantastic. So essentially, it's some of the best CG that I had ever seen at the time. And the way that, like, they're protecting this king on this boat, and the assassin comes in
Mhm.
and he throws this bomb, and you don't know what's going to happen, but then it hits and it freezes absolutely everything. But then the king's people had protected him. But then the assassin's like, I'm going to get him anyway. And of course, he's out the opposite end of the boat. And so he slow-mo runs through this boat that's completely frozen. And while he's doing it, the crystals and ice and everything are smashing around him. And he finally reaches this king. And he doesn't just kill him, he chops off his head. And the whole thing just looked so fantastic. It was amazing.
Yeah, I loved it. I watched it multiple times. It is what made me buy the game, and then at
Oh,
that
no.
point, when that game was there, I was like, "Whoa, ooh, this is not that's not what I was really expecting." Again, it's a good game. It's just
Yeah.
tough if you were expecting one thing and you got something else. Still a good game, though.
Yeah, that not only would make me want to quit that game, that actually makes me want to end this podcast right now.
Ah,
No, I'm kidding, but that pretty much does wrap us up since we are out of time.
sounds good.
So thank you everyone for joining us this week. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're listening on a podcast, please tell like 6 friends. And on behalf of Matthew Maulding, the absent Matt Lord, and myself, Dan Whitehill, thanks for joining us. And as always, good playing with you.
Good playing with you.